Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coming Out. I am Gabriel Paez, your host. Today we have a special guest, Tony Tovar. He's a community activist, and today we wanted to do something different. At least I wanted to do something different. As you well know, this show has morphed into more of a political sense direction, but what happens when politics ends at the election of 2026 and the blue wave comes? Well, we have to go back to our roots. So prior to this, I want to start now coming back to our roots. And it's about being LGBTQ affairs and how our lives have been impacted about who we are and what we do when we are living authentically. So Tony, welcome to the show. I want to feel that you're comfortable here because it's a safe space. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is definitely a big treat for me. I just recently transplanted from Texas 3 years ago. So to be in your show is like, wow.
Transplanted. So what made you transplant?
You know, I actually helped build a tech startup in Austin, Texas. And after you build something successful, you're like, what can I do next? And at that time, a friend of mine decided to move down here, and he was like, hey, why don't you come down and have an adventure with me? And I'm like, you know what? Sure. I love Celia Cruz. I love Miami. Why not? Just come down.
Okay, so the adventure began, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
It's still continuing.
It's a lifelong experience because we never finish experiencing new things, and it's great.
Yeah, well, I was that little kid that used to watch Calle Ocho, the festival, on TV on Univision. So I remember watching it with my grandma, and I'm like, oh my god, one day I'm gonna go visit that place.
There was actually a show called Calle Ocho?
Like, yeah, they had
they would highlight the event,
but they had with El Gordo y la Flaca. I don't know if you remember.
Okay, no.
And I used to watch that as a little kid religiously. And I'm a big fan of Celia Cruz, and I remember like how she would always talk about Miami.
Yes, and she actually performed several times, I think.
Yeah,
way back in the day out there. But let's talk about issues that are pertaining to our community. Really, there's so many. We can talk here for hours, for days, because our community really is impacted by a lot because we're in this dimension that we intersect all areas of life. So let's talk about coming out. How was your experience?
So my experience,
let's begin there.
My experience really began coming out to myself, because one of the things I do, from my perspective, believe is that when you come out to yourself, it creates a tapestry of many moments on how it shapes how you come out, not only to your family, to your community, even in your professional life. And I remember when I came out, I was 17 years old. It was early 2000s. It was more than 25 years ago. And I was that little brainy kid in history class and honors class. And there was this really good looking, amazing young man who was muscular, built, very bearded. And I remember like having a lot of discussions with him in regards to US history. And we had like this sort of like infatuation over each other. So we would like discuss a lot. And it seemed like there was a tension. And then I remember just asking to like leave the class for a moment because I wanted to understand what I was feeling within myself. And I remember going to my locker really quickly, and that's when I just realized, and it hit me. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gay.
Wow.
And that's when it started to hit me, like a train hits you. Like, this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense on why my neighbors look at me weird. Why my parents, we never connected. Me and my parents have been estranged for so many years.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. There's nothing to be sorry about, but it just started.
But I can understand because I'm estranged from my family as well. Not my parents, but my siblings.
Yeah.
So
to me, that brought everything together, full circle. And I remember just understanding a little bit more about myself, that I didn't want to live with shame. I wanted to accept who I was. And I said to myself internally, I'm gay. okay, let's continue on. Let's still get straight A's. Let's be that good civic kid in high school and make the world a better place. And from there, I was so happy that I was fully accepted with myself. I grew up Catholic, and as a Mexican Catholic,
oh my God, Mexican too.
yes, as a Mexican Catholic, we learn how to live with shame, or how to be ashamed of yourself, because
or guilt.
Yes,
Because Catholics love guilt.
oh my God, and we do love guilt.
Yes. We come out so many times in our lives.
Yeah.
We have so many, every day we're coming out. That's why the show's called Coming Out, because every day we're coming out. We're coming out to our, our friends, our new colleagues, the people that we meet on the streets and stuff. So I remember my initial coming out, but I'll never forget, we were living in Westchester here in Miami, 8901 Southwest 34th Terrace, I think it was. And I'll never forget Jorgito knocking on the door one day, and I come out and I said, all excited to go play. And he says, "Oh, Gabriel, I can't play with you anymore. My mom says you're mariquita." And at that point, at 6 or 7, something started clicking. There were many years that I delayed myself from coming out. While I was going to Columbus, I was like all about, being the butch as I can. But at the same time, it was struggling. So I was being so unfair to myself until I finally hit Tallahassee when I went to school up there. And life just opened up, and then I could be my authentic self, And, I had a relationship with a guy, my first relationship with a guy, and I knew from that point on that was it. But during the moments between then to Tallahassee, I would see Billy, you playing without a shirt and barefoot, playing catch, and I would be like, oh my God, I know that I have to be gay, and then the struggles would begin again, and the shame and the guilt. And so all that, as a Catholic, I was also, going through that.
And that's circling back, like when we come out to ourselves, that is like the beginning of like, how are we being kind to ourselves? Are we allowing ourselves to give each other grace or flowers? Because coming out to yourself can change the trajectory of the LGBTQIA plus experience.
Do you think it's harder to come out today than it was when we came out? You and I, different generation, but because for me it was pretty hard. Do you think it's just as hard it is today?
I think currently, right now, due to politics, people are learning to not amplify that they're gay. And that's because they see everything that's happening in the news. As an immigrant, people don't understand that we have to come out twice. We have to say
twice.
Yeah, we have to say, Grandma, I'm gay. By the way, best friend who, we go to high school with, I'm gay, but I'm also an, illegal immigrant. Like, that was back then. And I think people don't realize that it's hard to be an immigrant, and it's also hard to be, to be gay, because you have to do these 2-time experiences. I don't know if you had that experience. With me, like, I was a dreamer, and I had to like disclose my immigration status to my friends, because they would always invite me to like, oh my God, let's go to Mexico, let's go to Puerto Vallarta. And I'm like, unfortunately, I can't go with you.
I can't go back home.
Yeah.
Because I'll never come back.
I appreciate.
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah, it is horrible. It is horrible to like,
and you have
out yourself.
Now you're outing yourself as an immigrant. Now you're outing yourself sexuality. What else do we have to do to out ourselves as Democrats sometimes?
Yeah.
And that's what really, for me, is the most difficult, that I always have to be coming out. I don't ask friends that are heterosexual, are you heterosexual? When was the last time you came out? I don't ask those questions, but there are times that I feel like I do. because sometimes individuals think that the coming out is the easiest part, and it's not.
It's not. And you brought up a good point, even like explaining to your group of friends that, hey, I don't share the same values as you. You know, you're a very progressive Democrat, but I'm a very centrist Democrat. Even those conversations don't end up well. I can tell you that when I talk to my friends or go visit my friends in the city of Chicago, they have different type of views than we have the views here in the city of Miami. So I don't know if you experience that.
Most definitely. And I want to ask you about that. Why is it that there's so much apathy here in the state of Florida with our community, and let's say in Illinois, there's activism galore? Why the disparities in activism when we're all in the same boat, all experience, and even more in Florida, because with the governor that we've had for the past 7.5 years, he's just been knocking us down every year more and more. So why is it that Florida LGBTQ is not as active as it would be in Illinois, let's say, for example?
I think because in the city of Chicago, for example, there's an abundance of community leaders that influence and mentor a variety of different people from different areas. I know, for example, when I was living in Andersonville in Chicago, I had about 3 or 4 mentors who were part of the LGBTQIA plus community, and they were from different ages. Some of them were in my age group, some of them were like 10 years older from me, some were like 20. And I think currently right now, the reason why we have so much apathy is because our group here in Miami-Dade County is we do have these amazing gatekeepers that can really make a difference when it comes to sharing their influence, sharing their experiences, but we don't have as many as we should. Does that make sense? Like,
it does, but it's kind of sad because, you know, we were the capital of, you know, LGBTQ for especially Miami Beach, and those people just got priced out and they went somewhere else and started gentrifying. I guess in Broward County, there's more of it, right?
You're all right. There's more of it, but like, we need to also understand that we need to make that group bigger, not just a certain age group needs to be in control of that.
And I think we need to also remove ourselves from these silos that we are sometimes, because just because I'm a bear doesn't mean that I don't share the values of a twink, you know, or have similar values. So we could be fighting for the same thing together instead of being in a silo. And I'm only using the bear and the twinks as examples, please. But really, we stay in these silos and we don't branch out of it, you know, and I think that sometimes has a lot to do with it.
You know, I completely agree with that. I actually organize the Pride Night at the Frost Science Museum. I did it the second year. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone who went.
Thank you for having that. It was wonderful.
And the reason why I did it is because I remember the first time it went well and I got initial feedback. And normally when you get feedback, when you organize events, you're very nervous because you don't know what people are going to tell you. And there was one person that explained to me, this was the first event that I went to that I was not influenced to drink alcohol, but to like learn about science and meet other like-minded people like myself, but also allies that want to support our community. And to me, it kind of created like a bridge event. Like
it really was, because I had not seen that diverse of individuals in our community in a really long time. I saw people who I hadn't seen for years, and I saw people that I met that day. You know, while we were in a group, people were like very friendly, and people would come and talk to everybody. You know, something that I had not experienced in a while. So I thought that event was great for that reason.
And thanks for saying that. I also think it was great. And those are the type of experiences I wanted to really organize. And I'm still going to continue doing it. I'm looking at doing on Doggy Day at the Hotel Gathering as a way for people to come in and bring their dogs and meet each other, because we share the same type of values.
But we need that, Tony. We need that camaraderie. We need that building of relationships, because I think as much as we love our telephones,
Yeah.
our smartphones have made us to be like distance from individuals. We don't want to talk to people. We rather be on our phones for 4 or 5 hours a day. It's a lot easier. We don't have to, so I think that's what ends up happening. So those events would be great.
Yeah, social media apps, they did a good job. They brought us together, but they also kind of divided us. One thing I do want to say is that we need to go back to the old ways. I remember when I used to get a newsletter from the Human Rights Campaign, I would read all of their community-based events that were happening down the street in the city of Chicago, and I would just go and investigate. I would actually wanted to learn about them, but also meet people and network with them, and also meet people that were my age group, because I never had that opportunity to have an LGBTQ high school group inside the school. So I did appreciate about learning from that through.
So is that something you'll be doing more often, more of these events?
Yeah. That's something I really want to do, not only for Miami-Dade County, but I wanted to do it throughout the whole state to see how we can bring everyone together from major cities. Just kind of like the 1970s. I don't know if you remember how they used to do like these big events. There was like a women's national conference that happened, and they brought women from all over the states.
Okay.
So that's something to me, like, I think we need to do now.
Listen, now more than ever.
Yeah.
Because as you well know, I mean, it's not a secret. We're not being eliminated. They're trying to eliminate us. And they can do as much as they want. But Tony, we've been around for ages. So, it's not going to happen. As much as they try, they could hide us, keep us under, but now more than ever, I think we need to show up more often.
Yeah.
We have to be present more often and vote more often.
And we need to share our LGBTQIA plus experiences with our friends. I like this past weekend, I went to a Flock Fest event in Fort Lauderdale, and what I really appreciated, and I think we talked about this earlier, that you're like, were there people that were, a little bit not Speedo friendly? Yes, there were all kinds of people.
That would be me.
There were all kinds of people.
Okay.
And I really loved that event because it was inviting. Okay. And it brought a big group of people from Miami, but like it gave us an opportunity to like share ideas, share experiences. I even got to meet a lot of people from Atlanta, and they were just asking me a variety of different questions, like, how is it to live in the city of Miami? I have fun. It's safe. I have a great community, and those are the type of events that we really need to make sure that we're supporting. Even like Miami-Dade County, whatever events that we have now till the end of the year, search for them, be out there. I know that for the first week of June, we're going to have the flag racing.
Yes.
To me, that is a very important event to be there. Like I'm trying to find out if I can bring my dog, because I would love to bring my dog, because I'm a dog owner, but I'm also a registered voter, and I love supporting as much as I can the city of Miami.
That's going to be Monday, June 1st at 10 a.m. in the city of Miami. At the county, we are doing the Pride Month June kickoff, which will be June 3rd at noon in the lobby of the Stephen P. Clark. So there's a lot of events. If you visit LGBTQ Miami, there's in Instagram, I think that's the handle, that they have a lot of events posted there, and they show them by weeks. So yes, inviting all the community to attend those events is what we need to do right now.
And that's something that we can do, is we can organize our friends and let them know, hey, I'm planning to go to this Pride flag racing event, and put it on a chat, create a bunch of threads with them and say, like, who wants to go? Does anybody want to go? Or if you guys want, I can share pictures with you on what happened and how it was so much fun. To me, those are the things that we need to do from all ages. we need to share our experiences, because some of our friends don't have that luxury of leaving work or having like the remote from,
Of
remote
course,
but
yes.
making sure that they're there in spirit.
Mhm.
But even organizing something like, hey, everyone, let's go and take a bus and we're going to go see Miami Beach Pride Parade together and let's have fun. To me, those are the small type of events that we should still be organizing in order to help our community.
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do, but one of the things I see in the future us talking about is different topics that we can bring in, and one of them definitely will definitely have to be the pandemic that we're experiencing right. Not the pandemic, epidemic that we're experiencing right now with crystal meth and with drugs. I mean, it's impacting our community. We can't hide it. That's one thing. The other thing is that we must talk about having space for individuals who's, like I said before, are experiencing separation from their families.
Yeah.
Those are topics that we need to discuss and, in a more detailed aspect. But, I'll talk to you about my aspect with my family. Very hurtful.
Yeah.
As soon as I became the job that I currently have at the county, I noticed that one of my siblings started like falling off, wasn't reaching out. And it became full blown as my mom started declining in her health. And once mom passed, it was like bring down the curtain, and it was shut down. And I haven't spoken to them in over 4 years. And it was just outright just hurtful at things that they've done. So I just don't understand how sometimes siblings or parents could be so mean to individuals who don't necessarily see the way of life just like they do,
I think it's also because we're Latinos and we always want to conform. We don't want to make a scene. We don't want to make people see us. I can tell you, when I came out, I remember my mom explaining to me, like, I hope you know that you're going to go to hell, and I hope you're happy. And please don't tell your father, because he already told me that he wants to kill you. I'm like, great. Well, I appreciate you telling me. And I'll see you in hell, because I remember in the Bible that you're not supposed to say something like that to me. And it was a very hurtful experience for me. I think that was my last time out. I lived at home. I actually quickly moved out. I actually ran away from home and lived at the CTA trains. I used to like take the trains and sleep there as a kid going to high school. And I was able to like stay with my grandma, and my grandma took the ownership of like, I want to raise him. I want to take care of him. I want to guide him as much as I can. And my grandma at that time, I think she was 55. So for her to raise a teenage kid who was smart and nice, I tried to be as much as I could. It was hard for her. And I know that sometimes I live with that pain of knowing that my parents said some very hurtful things. They did a lot of physical things to me, but it's okay to move on from them, from that pain. It's okay to let go.
But it is okay to move away from that pain. Yes. Totally. I am a living proof, because I've gone through therapy, and let me tell you, I've moved on.
Yeah.
And at times it just brings me back, because I see my community still being impacted by things that similar to what you experience or I experience. So it brings those memories, even though we've passed on we're past that pain, it still brings us back to it. And that's when I want to try to, as a Latino, maybe want to control everything and not want you to suffer.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think you may have to, because it's a rite of passage, in life. And it's just made us stronger. Today, I am a much more humanitarian person. I am more forgiving nowadays than ever. And you know what? Had I not probably gone through this emotional breakdown situation, I probably wouldn't have had the experiences that I have today. So do I welcome them? No. But do I accept them? Yes.
Yeah.
and this feels like therapy talking to you.
And that's what's happening right now, that we don't accept the bad things that happened to us when we came out, because they come out in other ways. I recently had a fallout with someone, and I remember during our fallout, they said, like, to me, you are disgusting. And it kind of like hurt me, and it brought me back to what my mom said to me.
Of course.
And I remember talking about it with a good friend of mine, and he's like, well, that tells you that you're still living with that pain, and you need to break that. So that way, when someone says it to you, it just doesn't hurt you the way that person said it. And that actually happened probably a month and a half ago. That person said that to me here in the city of Miami, and it was very hurting. I can tell you that it brought me back to, like, am I not am I an ugly gay man, just like my mom said I was going to be? So if that makes sense.
Well, I think I've healed, and I welcome the person that I am today. And I don't hide from my experiences. I think I've grown from them. And I think the pain that I experience when somebody will say something that will revert back to me, to that, it's just reminding me of keeping me in check of what I had to go through, and I am where I am now. So I choose to be in the present.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I'm okay with it. I don't think that I'm still carrying that hate. If anything, I'm carrying that forgiveness all around. Yeah.
But I love that we're able to talk about it. Ask yourself, were you comfortable talking about it now, like 5 years ago?
I wasn't. I don't think I was. Number one, it hadn't really fully blown up yet. But 3 years ago, no, I was devastated. I mean, I had to go to therapy. I went to, therapists, psychiatrists, and a psychologist. And, at that point is when I realized that I needed help. And there's nothing wrong with seeking help. No. And here I am today. So, again, I don't welcome it, but I don't shy away from those experiences. But what do you have for you now? Where do you see yourself?
Where I see myself is I want to be fully integrated within the community where I live. Safety for me is very important. I can tell you that I try to get involved as much as possible, but on top of that, how can I really be a good Miamian and ensure that I'm always voting, getting my friends to register to vote? I actually helped like a friend register to vote who has never voted, and I thought it was the best thing in the world. Thank you, Adrian, for giving me the opportunity to explain to you why you need to vote. But also be out there to support you, to share my podium, to see how I can help other organizations like our Saves, like our Equality Florida, but also to understand how can I get more involved civically. I can tell you that I already have gone to meetings in the city of Miami and, listen to our commissioners argue about topics that really affected me. A good example of a topic that I went to watch is when they were trying to build this big jumbo screen next to the PAM by the Frost Science Museum. And I actually was explaining to them that type of light pollution would affect me because it would go into my building and I wouldn't be able to sleep. But on top of that, in a bigger scale, it would go into the sky and we would not be able to see the stars. And I was just saying, like, those type of effects, it kind of like takes away for people to see the stars. And I just didn't want that in my community. So to me right now is getting more involved, helping people get registered to vote. To me, I think that is the next step I want to really do, is just go out there, meet everyone in my community from different parts of the city of Miami, and just understand, like, why are you not voting? What's holding you back?
Right. One of the things that I see here is I do at Community News here and coming out is that I try to interview everybody, and everyone's different, right? But with you, I think I'm going to do something different, and I hope you accept. I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to invite you back because I think you and I have many more topics that we can discuss. And I don't think 30 minutes in one session is enough. And I think we need to explore these things because this is a way of giving back to our community, helping, speaking about youth. We can speak about, I try to stay away from youth because, then they'll call us pedophiles. But things that are important to every member of our community. So it's been my pleasure to have you here today. I hope you accept my invitation and coming back. And let's not make it too far away. But thank you for coming and thank you for sharing with us this great moment. And on that note, we'll see you next time.